Peace. This is Fader Rock. MOR, Matches of Reality. TNR, the nation's roughest crew of scarce elements. G4, you know what it is. And you were tuned in to GFG TV. Yikes.
Oh. Right, let's jump in. Episode 3. Kicking back off. We have dove into some of your history, where you're from. We spoke on some of your albums. And we just kind of want to dig a little bit more into your discography a little bit.
Yeah, let's finish up with a little more Maxilla Blue, man. Rumor has it Maxilla Blue is back in the studio. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. CBD, by the way.
CBD.
Give him that CBD ashtray, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the CBD ashtray.
You're welcome for the CBD ashtray.
Now, having concluded our CBD plug, we got... it's funny because people thought that there was like a breakup over the years, but there wasn't ever really no breakup. When I tell you about that, the divided thinking that Aeon and I had at one point in time, it was never anything that was detrimental like to the art or to the crew or nothing like that. And so, not only did we kind of have a divide from the standpoint of he ended up going and handling his business with some life stuff. He moved to India for a while. His professional careers began to blossom and all that sort of action. I had other shit popping myself, you know, and so I'm just rocking another direction, and that's just how it's always been. But the way I always look at anything, just like any of my friends or my closest relatives do, we may go forever not speaking to each other, and you come back around full circle, boom. By the time you connect, it's like you never left.
Exactly.
To me, that's a proper relationship. And
healthy one.
Yeah. And so I had, in between the last time that there was a Maxilla Blue record, which was released in 2012, I released several solo joints on my own. I started doing solo touring on my own and all that sort of thing. This year, or was it this year? I think it may have been last year. We got contacted by the coordinators of 835. It was like, yo, I know y'all haven't been active for a while, but it'd be dope if y'all blah 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 whatever. I was like, man, let me holler at the fellas. I hit the fellas up, Touch and Luke and or Aeon. And I was like, well, shit, if we do, we might as well rock some, we gotta do some new shit too. Like, I can't go out there doing old shit. That's ordinary, right? Like, I'm not into that.
Don't fuck with ordinary.
Man, like, come on, man. Someone already wrote that book. Yeah. Someone already wrote the book of 10 years later, you perform some shit, you ain't done nothing new. And so I'm like, shit, let's do that. And everybody was with it. And it's kind of a unique thing, just because one of the other things that a lot of people don't know about behind the scenes that kind of fed into why you started seeing less and less of Aeon was already an MC in his own right, in addition to being a producer.
Okay.
So with me being the sole MC on Maxilla projects, that meant that essentially when we do stage performances, he's hyping.
Yeah, that's tough. As an artist to just hype.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And he assumed it properly and handled it for as long as he did. But, you know.
And his production is crazy.
Yeah, right. And so there became less of a necessity for him to need to do that. I remember when I first started, I was smoking blunts, like tobacco, like Phillies and Swishers and shit like that. And drinking and eating fried food late nights and doing shit like that. And I needed a hype man, right? I needed someone, because I would run out of breath. I needed a motherfucker to come in and say, Asphate, blah, blah, blah. I needed all that action.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting around heads like the G4 heads and like, you know, the deeper circle of like, you know, like the highest of MC pedigree, like Black Thought, J. Rue the Damager type shit, and the Cyphers type shit.
People that take the craft extremely seriously.
At every level.
And they respect all levels.
So then I start getting into like pranayama, like alternate nostril breathing, right? Mm-hmm. I would go on tour when I did that 2012 tour where we were out in Vegas and the cat was like, the potato state, dude, the whole 30 days leading up to it, I'm doing yoga every morning. I'm doing the alternate nostril breathing all the way to the venue. To this day, I do it before we get on, right? I do that, and I do like I study like opera singers, because I notice a lot of them sometimes they get down in these huge ass halls and stuff, and they have to deal with whatever the acoustics of the hall are without a microphone often, and just project their voice
and fix it on the spot.
Right. And so I started looking into, well, what do fucking opera singers do? You know, because I had already made the mistake of, in 2010, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but it has context. In 2010, we're on the road with Soul Crate, and this is what I would call our first tour. And that's where I kind of learned my lesson of like, dude, you can't stay up late every night, except every shot of Jameson and Hennessy from every fan that comes up. Mm-hmm. Smoke blunts with everyone that comes through and buys your CD, because I love good energy. Mm-hmm. And if it's real good, I can be real serious and get real hectic about some shit. But for the most part, dude, I love to clown. I love to have fun. I'm with that vibe. I'm with that. And so I want to do that. And so when it comes and it's from all different angles, different places, I want to partake in it. Well, I learned that dude, you can't do that and also be waiting until 2 a.m., 2:30, 3, get y'all's money, and then go eat fried food, and then go to sleep and get up 2 hours later because we're headed to the next spot. Mm. And the first thing you're doing is chiefing with tobacco wraps with everybody. Stop and get some fried chicken, all that other sort of shit.
Definition of burning the candle.
Yeah, dog. Yeah. So that should. Oh man, why did I bring that up? What did you say? What did you ask?
So this was off of the premise of his question about
Maxilla
Blue going back in the studio, and you were speaking about the questioning of 8035 reaching out, and you didn't want to put out old. You didn't want to perform with music.
Yeah, where I was just at though. That's quite a few degrees off track. But I know I got there somehow. I'm asking y'all how I got over here. That question's easy. So it was like, all right, let's rock. All right. It was funny because we heard people talking about it like it was a reunion. And me and Luke were like, dude, we didn't hate each other. We didn't have no issues. There wasn't nothing like that. It was just like, when life, it's like humans live life. It's like, when you have a young cousin or a young friend and you're their best friend and damn near everything they're doing when you're young and vice versa. Yeah. And then life just happens and they just, boom, they're here and they're here. There ain't no animosity about that. Yeah. There ain't no static, there ain't no pressure about that, right? It's just two heads living life.
Yeah, life carries on. Time is irrelevant, and people look at calendar pages and look at things like that. But when you look at it, you haven't been like, hey, it's been 5 years since Maxilla Blue put out a record. It's not like that. Like, collaborative projects and art happens naturally, in my opinion.
Shit, so it's been 11. It's been 11.
Okay.
The last joint came out in 2012. On G4, Galapagos 4, and Central Standard.
What is your favorite Maxilla Blue project? And why?
This is I don't know, this is what me and my wife talk about all the time, until we talk about, and my daughter used to with us, just the complexity of the universe and how, like, a lot of people talk about things in an either or sort of perspective. And for me, it's like multiple things can be true at once. And so that makes things complicated because it makes it harder to definitively say this in absolute form is this. So Maxilla Blue Volume 1 for me might have been the rawest. It might have been the one where I really first set aside all the inhibitions and all the shit that comes with when you first grow up and start making music. Because the truth is, relatives and people around you who don't actually get out on the road and don't actually do that shit, they don't actually know what the fuck they're talking about, right? So you all may or may not, or some people who've been listening will understand this if you perform. You've been in that position where you're going and you're opening for some major head, Snoop Dogg, or Ghostface, or whatever, right? And you're knowing that this is simply an opportunity to get in front of some other faces and possibly get your merch off and all that sort of thing. You're past the being disillusioned from the thing that we all think of when you first start out, which is you're gonna open for this big name head one time, for the first time. They're gonna see you fall in love with you and be like, oh shit, hey, and we kicking these niggas off the tour, you on tour with us. Yep. You part of Maybach Music now. Right. And the more and more you do this thing, the more you understand that's not the case, and you got to kind of shrug off shit like when you got your older cousin or someone else being like, well, what's going on? Well, how much y'all only get paid this much? Or damn, they doing this? Or y'all should do for that? Or y'all should ask for back in this, back in that? I'm like, dude, you don't know what the fuck a motherfucker should do about nothing.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's been an interesting thing when, you know, it's funny because, all right, so check this out. I think I've talked about this before. Some of the heads on my label, Galapagos 4, they've been touring since they were like 19 and shit. That's all they've known, right? But shit, the landscape of shit changed. And so those tours became less successful. They may have been able to get things like 2,000, 2,500 a show at some point, right? But now it may not necessarily be the same thing. And the fanfare is different. And people just, the acting, the way the things play out and all that shit is different. But one way in which it came up for me, which was really interesting, is I got a 9-to-5 job. All right, I just want to make that clear. I also want to make it clear, because a lot of people don't understand this, it's cool to have a 9-to-5 job and rock. Right? I remember I was walking down the street one day downtown, and the cat was like, Asphate! Asphate! And if anyone has ever seen me out in the wild, like out in the public, and you notice like me not like acting like I don't hear a motherfucker, or until you force me to have to deal with you, you already can picture how this is going down. So finally, the dude had to start throwing out all sorts of fuck code language. No, Maxilla Blue, blah blah blah. He started naming names of songs and shit. So I'm like, finally, I'm like, all right, nigga. So I turned my neck. So I turned and I looked at the motherfucker. He's like, no, I'm a fan. He's like, where are you going? So I had work clothes on. I was like, no, I'm just going back to the office. And he was like, oh, I didn't think you had a regular job. And he said it innocently, but there was some weight to it that was like, maybe I should think different of you now, type thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh man, I appreciate the lighter for the CBD joint.
For the CBD.
And the funny thing is, generally speaking, I'm the type of motherfucker, I don't give a fuck about what any other motherfucker thinks outside of myself. The same motherfucker that had to be down south fight squad with this nigga and this nigga and this nigga. So it's always like that. So what? It's on me. I don't give a fuck what some other motherfuckers think. But I am human, and I do have emotions, and there are times when the ego, like, there's things that happen with it. And I remember in that moment being like, damn, should I feel bad? You know what I mean? Like, should I?
You just got a weight put on you by somebody,
you know,
without maybe even knowing.
Yeah, because the truth is, all of us that are creatives and we take ourselves seriously, there's a point and stage in our lives where we consider to ourselves, our goal is to be doing this thing full time and nothing else, right? And so because of that, there could be a part of the mind that also convinces oneself that if and when that has never happened, you haven't quite succeeded just yet.
You're really hard on yourself.
Right? I came to a different conclusion. Because what I noticed when I go on the road with motherfuckers who've been touring since they were 19, and they were like, hey, you should do it full time. Sometimes it's feast and famine. That's what my homeboy Plug said. It's like, it's feast and famine. You know, you'll be good for 6 months. You come off the road with this many thousand, blah, blah, then it's this, that, whatever. Meanwhile, I got a shorty, and I'm like, man, yeah, but dude, her braces ain't gonna get put on.
Consistency.
Yeah, she ain't gonna, if she break her leg, there ain't no insurance plan, y'all. I got insurance on my job. I got all that shit. Matter of fact, I got PTO.
Yeah.
So for me, I would be on the tours that I'm talking about, the same tours I'm doing the yoga for, and the breathing exercises for, and all that other sort of shit. I would be on those tours, dog, on PTO for my 9 to 5.
That's exactly how I get down.
Right, so check it. So you telling me I should do the full-time thing for the sake of being able to say it so I don't get embarrassed or feel this weird shame when I'm downtown and someone stops me as a fan. When what's actually happening right now is I'm getting paid by this job to be here vacationing all over Vegas, East LA next day, Phoenix the next day, and people are giving you everything.
They don't hear you, though.
You know what I mean? People are giving you everything, whatever, you know, what you need to stay, you need food, or whatever. Love.
Isn't that like the story of the man that felt bad for Jesus because of his sufferings, but you got to realize you feel bad for somebody that has everything. Like it's a weird world that people look at things and their perspective is wrong, but the outcome is, and actually you're looking at somebody that's a complete human. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. But so check this out though. Just to finish this thought. Here's where I was going with that. While I'm on this tour, mind you, one of the people I'm with, I consider to be one of the greatest MCs that walks this planet, and that includes me in that bucket. And you could say the top 5, even top 10 for sure, even top 5, right? That's touring with me. That's part of Galapagos 4 with me. One night out of all the nights, one night in, I think it was Lincoln, the promoter flaked. So they didn't have the guarantee that was supposed to be there. This one member of our tour shit, who I'm talking about, this MC, he got a shorty, you know, and all that sort of thing. And this is all he does since he was there. So on that night, when they don't have this many several $100s, and they're like, well, sorry, we tried to do this and this didn't work out, and all blah blah, you know, all the bullshit fucking shit that a promoter does. A lot of heads don't understand that. Let me just say this real quick, because I do shows too. Even if it has to come out of your own fucking work paycheck, if you're a promoter throwing a show and you set a guarantee for artists that are going to appear and perform at that show, you have that money beforehand. I'm saying this to audience who would be or aspire to be promoters. You take care of that beforehand, even if it's a loss to you. You don't say to the artist at some point, well, sorry, or see, enough people didn't show up and all that sort of thing. You handle that. And by building that reputation of handling that, that's how you start to make things change and push things in a different way. And that's why we started seeing heads rock and come to our shows, and we trade shows with different level type of motherfuckers. That helped push the platform and the support for the graffiti shit. I just want to point that out to people, because a lot of people don't even understand. The graph movement that's happening right now wouldn't even be happening if it was not for Maxilla Blue, for music, right? Anyway, so I'm on tour. And on one night, this cat doesn't come up with the guarantee. For a cat, that's all they do, that's a big deal. And so I'm seeing one of the greatest MCs that I know on the planet punch holes in the walls of a hotel door in Lincoln, Nebraska, because on that night, we missed this several $100 amount of dollars. But I'm sitting here like, man, I'm paid. My paycheck is, I get 2 days from now is Friday.
Hello.
I'm on the road. I just got to the bank, and I just got my paycheck from work. Should I feel bad about not being a full-time artist when one of my fans stops me in the street and they're like, oh, I thought, damn, your work clothes? I thought all you did was rap. The complexity of the universe, man. Yeah. Even a motherfucker like me who don't give a fuck about another motherfucker's thing, in that moment I wondered if I should. I don't know more, but I wondered. You know.
So I love the music video Lego Block.
Okay.
Talk about the creation process of that music
video. Man, I love that one. That was probably the first one. First off, all of our videos, with the exception of Perfect Mouth F and Shovel Kids, my wife did the camera work, Essence, with Clear Haze Creative. Okay. She's also FSC, Floor Spiders Crew, Essence Rock.
A lot of cameos in there too.
Yeah. So, that was probably the first video that I really I like to just organically rock off of shit. So an idea will come and it'll be very like amoeba-like in a sense, and whatever starts to like boom blob out here, I'll be like, okay, boom, I can go from there. Oh, so now I'm an inmate. I know I want to be an inmate. I want to be on the run. I know we live right by Zanzibar. I want to get up in there and use the scenery they got in there. What if we have a radio that's playing in there and we hear them talking about us in the radio right in the beginning? Then we cut to an inmate. I used to be in Fort Dodge. I got a lot of homies that was up in the fucking correctional joint there. I did a tour of that joint. So I knew we could get close to that joint, get some footage on the outside of that. That goes right in hand with the fucking inmate thing or whatever. And the whole premise of Lego Blocks is like, you know, sometimes I deal with me because I know that my shit is off. You know, we're all a little different. But some of us embrace the difference a little bit more than others, and some of us try to conform a little bit more than others. And so a lot of times that's why I stay inside, because it's abrasive. It's like a static energy, an orbit of static energy that's abrasive to people who really want to stay in conformity when you're on the other end of things and you're moving amongst them and you're walking amongst them and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? And so I just try to I just try to stay clear of that shit, because the truth is, I ain't no, I can get, the human side of me come out real quick, and when I say that, I mean it from just like a vulnerable, weak side where you act emotionally, and now you're angry, now you want to do this, now you want to do that. So dog, I stay inside a lot because I'm the one I probably want to have a convo with anyway. So that premise of the song Lego Blocks is, you know, I talk to me because I'm the only one that fucks with me sometimes. Sometimes these pieces need to rearrange. As in, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I need to grow and develop and progress. And I need to do that behind closed doors. So that's why I'm in the lab and y'all don't see me. And people was like, well, he's hard to get a hold of. He's just that or whatever. You know?
Now you building what you're
Yeah, you know. And so that thing, that was the whole premise of that fucking video. But on your question, that's probably the first one that I wrote out so much of like a treatment or a script or whatever type of
seems like
all I knew was that I wanted to present something that like illustrated this person thinks differently than those around them. And so if y'all ever go look up Maxilla Blue Lego Blocks the video, you'll see that at some point there's all these chess games going on in the park, and the one cat that is escaped as an inmate, instead of being focused on like escaping or doing some other shit, he gets engrossed in something that clicks with him. He sits down at the chess table. And then before you know it, at some point, boom, he starts pulling out pieces that are outside of the box. Right? We think
niggas playing chess with Legos.
You know what I mean? Like we thinking differently, in other words. You know what I'm saying? You see what I mean? Like
who's the little girl in the video you was playing chess with?
That's my little girl who just passed away, dog. I was about to keep crying this whole time. You almost hit me right here.
Man.
Yeah, she's one of the illest motherfuckers out this joint. I mean, super. Like, she did so much before she left. She was a dope B girl. She wrote graffiti. Oh, hold on, my throat's dry than a bitch. She wrote graffiti a little bit, but more than anything, she liked me writing graffiti. She supported that super heavy. Later on, we'll talk about this magazine that's coming out that I'm doing in honor of her. But yeah, she was in there. Willie T was in there from East Side. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Episode
was up in that joint. I believe Chris D was up in that joint. Chris Disgusting might have been in that joint. You know, B-Boys and B-Girls was up in that joint. Filthy Pete. Bless was in that joint. You know.
So let's ask, what is your most memorable local show?
Ooh, damn.
No, y'all used to tear them up all the time.
What about your
Hey, that's funny. That's funny because now that you ask me, I see that I managed to, in all that long ass diatribe, I managed to sidestep the question about my favorite album.
Yeah.
But I'd try to pull the same trick on you because it's a tough answer.
I'm just going with Maxilla Blue Volume 1 for that question.
Okay, maybe. So were you there at the release, the very first release?
No, sir.
That was a time frame where I still might be on stage rhyming in the middle of the joint while Touch is cutting up on the breaks. I might jump right into the cypher, boom, hit everything from a top rock set all the way down to my down rock, boom. Footwork, boom, leg steps, everything, hit you with it. You know what I'm saying?
What venue was that at?
That would have been the Mews. Okay. That would have been March. It would have been March something of 08, and that was just a hype ass. Anybody that goes and looks on my Facebook shit or whatever, you can find it somewhere. I think there's a photo album called Gigs or some shit like that, Gigs and Promo, and I think you can find some shit in there. That first Maxilla release was some shit, but there was one Maxilla release though where apparently it was the first time a hip hop show had sold out the Mews. Wow. In I don't know how long. I hesitate to be like ever because everyone tried to say that and it's like no nigga, we found some shit. So I don't want to say that, but I remember them being like, this is the first blah blah whatever.
So what's considered a sold out crowd at the Mews?
Man,
Is it max capacity? Like it's a 200.
It was. I thought it was
capacity
240 was the capacity at some point. It wasn't
250, something like
okay,
that.
maybe I don't know.
It could have been up higher than that because it's dependent because they've had multiple setups upstairs.
Yeah.
So when they have the different setups, they had a different.
There was all types of different shit. There was. Put it this way. There was definitely. I've had shows, and here's the thing: people got to embrace. And that's what I'm talking about with you going and doing all these shows out of town. You know there's feast of famine, just like my homeboys told me.
Yes, sir.
In smaller increments. Like, our relatives that went back then, they might be like, dude, you ain't getting nothing. You ain't getting at least $5,000 when you open up for Snoop. And it's like, no, nigga, like, no. You know, type of shit. But when I go on the road, now, we're going to go to Europe. Go to Europe, you know, and we're in Augsburg, and you take care of everything, and then, you know, you might get 500 or 750 euros or whatever. Boom. And, you know, train ride's good, everything else is good, boom. And you do that, and you multiply that just like you did with the $10 joints that you were printing off, that you were selling out the trunk, and you might sell 50 of them, that's 500. You sell fucking, 200 of them, that's 2,000. And an 18 or 19-year-old who just walked out of auntie's house where the fucking printer's dead because you stole all the fucking ink, and you smashed out and did all that on your own, it's the same type of thing. And so I try to school head sometimes on it, like, dude, I'm right along some of the illest motherfuckers that I know, that rhyme with, but I'm also seeing them understanding the world ain't fair. And you could be the illest motherfucker, but like, if your head goes underwater and it's out in the ocean and it stays underwater too long, there's gonna be bubbles that come up and that sun's gonna keep shining and the birds gonna keep chirping. And it don't matter how dope you were. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of the world. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, how can we think, what can we do? How can we look at things alternatively? So I went on that whole thing because sometimes I think it's important for artists, young artists, to know, hey dude, ain't nothing uncool about still having a means of creating income that takes care of you, your seeds, has insurance for them, all that other sort of shit for them. Dog, my daughter just died. We weren't sure how we was going to deal with the funeral and stuff. Turns out, and I'm glad, some years ago, for whatever reason, I decided, even though I wouldn't have fathomed that she would die before me, do my work, pay for life insurance.
Wow.
It saved our ass. You know, so there's nothing wrong with alternative lines of thinking. That's Lego blocks. Think outside the box. Be ready to rearrange. Be ready to redevelop, to progress. And I don't see enough motherfuckers recognizing that they should be on that. So the way they talk irks me.
Open letters to a closed fist. Tell us about the creation of the album and who was behind most of the production. Okay, first and foremost, just to make sure the audience is in full awareness of our reminder, this is a CBD joint, one of the finest that we tested thus far on GFG TV. Hello.
Vern did a production.
Shout out Big Vern.
Yeah, Big Vern, who's also worked with Trip, who has put out some of the illest joints, if not the illest joints. Out of the state and out of the region, and you know, depending on your taste, just out there. Long and short, me and Trip, I always had a mutual respect going back to
like. Get there. Let's kick it.
Damn, I'm on here, kid.
Close.
But this is all right. So fuck it.
So
that's a separate topic.
No, you know, only reason
I break you, but we have to kick this into episode 4.